Hey guys, happy Monday. Today is Monday, January 6, 2020.
First time I've heard that.
Ooh, yes. I did watch the really cool Andy and Anderson thing where they talked about Barbara Walters. Did you see that sketch?
Oh, I saw it.
Oh my gosh, Sherry O'Terry. If you don't know Sherry O'Terry, Google her and watch that because she did a Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Anyway, I'm completely off topic as usual. Good morning, Wyatt. Happy Monday. First Monday back for the TED Show. We've been working behind the scenes. I am personally super excited to have the incredibly talented Thor, otherwise known as Thomas Thorspecken, on the show. Hey Dominique, what's up? It's a beautiful Monday here at the club. We've got great lighting. We've got a very talented guy, like I said, so welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Super excited. So a little history, and then you can dive into your history, which is what people really want to hear. Okay. But I did that incredibly fun Tina Turner spot for the charity event for Central Florida Vocal Arts and Opera del Sol. And Thomas, Thor, did an amazing sketch of some of us who performed, and I think he really captured the spirit. I've tagged it. I have it everywhere.
Okay.
People still comment on it, but it captured the essence of what we were all trying to accomplish, including Bob Fryer, and there were every Savannah Bone, everybody. So many cool people were at that event, and I was blessed to be there. And then Thor took it and really added some life and vibrancy to it.
And it was hilarious, and it was like my Moulin Rouge. I mean, you were my French dancer.
We were all. There was some crazy stuff. So welcome to the show, my friend. All right, so let's talk a little bit about you. Give them their journey. Obviously, we want to talk about the arts, which you're involved in. We want to talk about analog artist, digital world. Okay. I want to even understand what that means. But I saw you sketching while you were waiting for me up here, which is amazing. But we want to hear if you were born with a crayon in your hand and how all that transpired.
All right, so I'll start with the analog artist, digital world. It started in 2009. Actually, I probably have to back up a little bit. I worked for Disney Feature Animation.
Did you really?
So that's what brought me to Central Florida, to Orlando. And about a few years before that, they closed the studio. They said, we don't want to see people draw movies anymore. We want computers to make the movies. So my hand wasn't useful anymore in drawing the pictures for films.
Were you born did you always have an artistic ability?
I'd say I started maybe when I was 10 years old. That's when it started for me.
And did somebody just say, hey, here's some colored pencils, Thomas, go forth and do good? Or did you just kind of start sketching on your own and people said, oh my God, you're good?
Well, it has a backstory in that my mother had died and my father remarried. And when he remarried, the new mother of mine, she introduced me to art. She gave me some tools, and I became obsessed with it. It became my mission from that point on to draw constantly.
And how did you know? I'm always fascinated by people who have a talent because I can barely draw a stick figure, right? So, but I'm amazed that when I was watching you sketch, for example, your view outside the window at the club here, everything looked, I understood exactly where you were even if I didn't know where you were. That's a gift. Did you start with a specific type of art? Did you start with, how does that progress? Because I feel like there's got to be some sort of progression to get to where your art is best, where your gifts are best used.
I think, well, like any kid, I drew things that I loved at the time. And as a 10-year-old, what I drew constantly was a space capsule. I drew the Mercury space capsule probably hundreds of times as a kid. I knew how to draw that one piece of machinery.
I love it.
And that was my art form. That's all I ever did at that point. Then I expanded after moving in with the new family. I started going, if I was hanging out in the backyard, I'd sketch the house, or I'd sketch my relatives while they're hanging out in the chairs beside me. It just became my way of relaxing and enjoying the world, of just being a part of the environment that I'm enjoying. Some people smoke, I sketch.
Or have cocktails.
Yeah, exactly.
So when was it, so when you turn, because a lot of people, so you've got the talent, people are doing things as a kid. Then you become an adult. Did you immediately have the ability to turn that into a career? Or did you have another career that you did and were creating art on the side?
I was in New York City studying to be an artist, so I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and I made my way through school by art directing for magazines. I worked for the Daily News. I did drawings on the streets of Manhattan for an article called Undiscovered Manhattan. So they'd send me someplace and a historian would talk about what I happened to sketch, that street corner, the history behind it, what church had been there, which is now an artist studio or has changed over into a club. I mean, things change constantly. So one particular building could have 100 years of history.
Sure.
It's just fun to record. So that's how I got through school. Art direction.
But you
magazines.
actually went to school. Like you took, because a lot of people have this talent, but then they're put in a different direction. You actually kept along that path the
Yeah, I
entire
decided
time.
I'm going to be an illustrator. I'm going to work for magazines and newspapers, and I worked and got my foot in that door and kept at it. So then it became Disney feature animation because they were doing nationwide search, worldwide search. I mean, they brought in artists from Russia to work on the films. So they were looking in any city for artists that knew how to draw, and not many people draw these days.
They don't.
You know,
The computers do it.
It's the computers, the phone. So they said, I love what you have in the portfolio. I had a bunch of drawings of people in clubs and things like that, but they wanted to see animals. They said, can you just go to the zoo and draw animals? So for the next 2 months, every day I went to the zoo and just drew animals and put a portfolio together of those drawings. And that got me in to work on The Lion King, which is what they were working on at the time.
You worked on The Lion King?
Yeah,
See, I
started
didn't
as an
know
intern
that.
way back in the day.
So how does that work on because I think, like you said, it's really gone all computer. But back in the day, I don't think people understand that there is an entire process of animation that includes drawings. Back in the day,
Right.
if you've ever seen the videos of old Disney stuff like Alice in Wonderland, there's a physical human being doing the dancing, and then you've got this whole group of talented artists sketching that for, at the time, would put together the frames and the pictures. So how was that process back in the day to explain to the youngins how that worked?
Yeah, when I was an intern, it was exciting because you just have piles of background paintings in the hallway, or you'd go in an artist's office and there's literally a mountain of paper on his desk of a scene he's working on. So a scene is not digital things in the computer, it is physically a mountain of paper that you keep building, and a week's worth is just thousands of sheets of paper. You can't count how many drawings you do during the course of a film. They're very fast sort of gestural drawings that you do to begin with to get the acting down. And basically every day there would be classes for figure drawing, and every lunchtime you go in there and you can draw the figure. They'd be dressed up like Pocahontas or Mulan or whatever.
You
they
really
happen to
worked
work
during the
on.
Disney Renaissance, is basically what
Yeah.
they like to frame that. That's when Disney really had a resurgence. Started really
They
with The
loved
Little
the
Mermaid.
arts, and they supported the artists, and they made sure we grew as artists. You didn't sit in the office and just stagnate. They'd make sure you're always looking at something new and getting excited.
And I don't think people realize now, because the computer does it all, that when he's talking about having piles, I'm assuming piles of so this is this part, and then the next drawing is just a teeny slight deviation, because what you're eventually going to do is you want to, when they're all put together, we used to flip them like this, or when you're all doing it fast, Happy New Year, Carmen, it looks like the character is moving. It's animated.
To animate something, like if I'm throwing a baseball, let's say there's a baseball in my hand, I draw a keyframe where I'm anticipating drawing the ball back here, and then I draw a second drawing where I'm throwing the ball up here. And then there is 24 drawings per second to get that movement to happen.
Crazy.
And that's where all the grinding, back-breaking work is to create that many drawings. And there's an army of artists that made that happen. You'd have a team of like 10 artists that you'd work with to get all those drawings done.
So then eventually computers became so smart and adept at it that the artists themselves began to be phased out of that, correct?
Yeah, they brought in a room full of computers. Maybe it's about as big as this room we're in right now. There's maybe 10, 20 computers in there. And they said, you guys need to learn how to use these things. And all the animators thought, that's ridiculous. There's no way a computer can act and emote the way that we do. It's got humanity and exaggeration. How can a machine do that? They're wrong. I was one of 2 people in there every night. I loved that computer room, and I was working diligently to learn it, but they just shut it down before the next film came up. They were doing a hybrid film where it was part traditional, part hand-drawn, and part computer, where the computer would be hand-made puppets, like made out of garbage scraps, out of brooms and hubcaps and things like that, set in Appalachia. And it was a really fun idea for a film. It just never happened, unfortunately. So.
Carmen says, I used to love my flip books. Yes, I remember the flip books, right? Because that's really what we're talking about. So again, if you don't know what that is, Google. You have this stack of papers, and as you flip it, you're watching the scene come to life for whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
probably one of my earliest inspirations. I went to Disney World here in Florida as a kid, probably 10 years old. And I got one of the Mickey Mouse flip books where he was a cowboy with his lasso. And I think that inspired me to figure out, how the devil did they do that? I want to be able to do that.
So you learned, though, you adapted to the technology. But that's still a different feel. Watching you sketch earlier compared to what you have to do on a computer, because it's mostly, but how has it changed? How has it progressed?
Yeah, so when Disney closed down, I got the computer I was working on. I said, I'm going to make my own film. I'll stick with this computer stuff. I want to learn it. I'm bringing it home. I brought my Disney desk, which is a huge monster of a desk with a disc on it where you do all the drawings. And I also bought the computer that I was working on. I thought, okay, I can learn this and I'll get back out to Hollywood and California. I'll work on the computer. But I was in a dark room for 10 hours a day, staring at a screen, and I was a hermit.
Yeah.
It's just endless. I had to find something outside of the studio again, get out. So I decided, okay, I'm making a commitment. This is 2009. I said, once a day I'm going to get out of the studio, get away from that computer, and I'm going to go and do a sketch around Orlando. So I went on the streets of Orlando, and I probably started on Church Street, started drawing the buildings. I draw construction and things like that. And what happened is that while I'm sitting there on a street corner or whatever, somebody would stop and stand in front of me, and they'd start telling me their whole life story. I'm suddenly an audience because I'm sitting on a street corner, doing a drawing, looking at the world. Nobody actually looks at the world. They're in a rush to get past it.
Great.
So the fact that I'm standing still meant that they could tell me their story. And from the people that I started meeting just on street corners, they started sending me to clubs, to bars, to different venues, to the shakes, to all the museums in town. And they got me to realize what I should be sketching. It's like a community feeding me the ideas of what should be seen in a sketch.
Talk about an organic path.
Yeah.
I mean, you went out with one reason, and then this is the great thing of.
I honestly thought it was all going to be architecture. I will document all of Orlando's architecture, but it got hot.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I don't really like the cold. I also don't like July or August outside.
So now I do all my drawings in air conditioning, which is very convenient.
So how did that progress for you? As I think a lot of people would say, all right, so he's talented, but there's a lot of talented people out there. How did you make the transition? You're out there, you're going to clubs, you're sketching things, to make it so that this business is viable for you? Because we have a lot of starving artists out there,
yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying.
I think what I do that's different is that I don't only do the sketch and just share the sketch, is I'm talking about the experience. I'm writing about what happens, and that fills in what's not recorded on the page. So honestly, more than half of the excitement of being on location is all of the things going on around you. The people are talking, there's an argument in the corner, the bartender dropped a drink. It's exciting to record what's happening. Like, every year I try and get into the Holy Land, which is a theme park, and once a year they have to open the gates to anybody for free because it's a church-themed theme
Correct.
park. So I'd go there and I'd sketch the people waiting in line, thousands of people trying to get into this park for free. And every year I've failed to get in because they close the park instantly. It's like they open the doors, people file in, and close down.
Yeah.
And that first year I was doing it, it was amazing in that they started closing like the gates of heaven, and people were on the other side of the gate, pounding at the gate. Jesus ran into the scene, and he's like trying to keep the gates closed from people coming in.
So you drew it, but you also wrote about that experience.
You can't get all that into one sketch. So all the things that suddenly happened had to be talked about, because that's what's so
well, that's
fun
what I
about
loved about the sketch that you did for us for the event. It wasn't just the 4 separate acts up there. The one you did it for everybody, but you were writing. And what I loved is that you were writing. I felt it was very cool stream of consciousness kind of stuff oh my God, it's going by so fast. I read the whole thing. I can't even get everyone,
Yeah, exactly.
or I missed that. And so, but I love that because I think you're bringing to the audience exactly what you're experiencing in that moment, which is motivational, I think, for people. Wow, that's really cool. I'd like to
That's
come
what's
out to
exciting
it again.
about the art of it, in that even every play, I go to rehearsals, I go to texts for plays, and I'm trying to figure out how to piece together one scene that encapsulates that play. And you have to do it in bits and pieces, because as an artist, I'm working snail's pace. The line goes down, they think I'm working fast, but it's pretty darn slow to get that line on the page. And you start piecing people together. If I'm at a party, I'll have a couple talking over here and one leaves. And, oh my gosh, so I put somebody else over there talking to the person.
Right.
So I'm sort of art directing my own party, trying to figure out how to get people to interact together within the scene. And that's the fun of it. That's why I don't use photo reference or video or iPhone photos. It's the sheer panic of trying to get something on the page.
Well,
is
that's
fun
also,
for me.
that's, sheer panic's a great word, but in a positive way when you're reading the article, when you're reading what you wrote. Because I know how fast that went, because Bob Fryer did the first opening act with the grunge band, Kurt
Right.
Cobain. I can't think of it right now. Feels like Teen Spirit. And
You can't see
that
anybody's face
that
with
went,
those wigs.
and then all of a sudden it was boom, 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 boom. It went so fast.
Yeah.
And so I understand that. Michael Brodsky, if you're still watching, he'd be great for your, Thor would be great for your upcoming event, which I'll private message you, because I think capturing what you capture would be great for what Michael has going on this month.
And that's how I end up finding many of my events. It's at first I used the Orlando Weekly. I looked at the event section, but then Facebook came in, and it's like now I'm friends with most of the producers and directors, and they'll let me know what's coming up. And it's hard to stay fresh where they know that you're still out there, that you're still excited about what they're doing, because they're going through their own struggles just to get the production made.
Correct.
You know, then
It's not
having to promote it is a whole new.
Well, the promotions, like social media is an amazing, absolutely amazing platform, and I always encourage people, don't be afraid of it. Don't listen to all the naysayers. It can be used for evil, but you
That's
certainly
been
can use it for good. And there are so many opportunities out there that I think people miss because they're not on top of the social media.
Right.
So talk about analog artist, digital world. What does that mean? I understand artist, but what is analog artist? Oh, how does digital play into that?
Yeah,
so
so
explain how the impetus.
It came off the Disney idea, and that darn machine, that computer, took my job. That machine took my job. But I also was realizing I love digital. At the time that Disney was closing, it was fresh, new. I was going to all these conferences about digital, and I love it. But I also love to draw. So my idea in the beginning was I get a tablet to draw on, one of those digital tablets, and I'd also do a traditional drawing the next day. Trade back and forth until I figure out which is the best. And immediately paper took over. I love paper, and I did that more than 9/10 of the time. But now the tide's turning again. I'm realizing that paper is heavy. When you have a stack of paper in a sketchbook, it's actually pretty heavy to carry. And these iPads have finally gotten to the point where it feels like a pencil on paper. I've gone through probably 10 different tablets trying to find one that really feels like paper and pencil, and they've developed it finally. Apple and Procreate is the program.
Nice.
Have developed this tool where you can have a very fine point when you're drawing, and then you can also shade it in with the side of the pencil, and that's what I've been looking for. So part
Isn't
of
that
the reason
amazing, the
digital wasn't
technology?
big was that it was heavy.
Right.
All those old tablets were like you fold the computer in half and put it in your bag.
Right.
It's like 2 bricks that you're carrying around town. But now probably it's half and half. I love digital because it's so vibrant and you can change your mind so quickly.
Right.
But I still love paper and pencil. That's what I carry every day.
Well, you
regardless.
still are a purist at heart. You've just adapted to the world around you, which I think is important. I have a friend, RC Aradio, he's got a whole thing of, he does comics. He draws comics. And by comics, RC, that's my word, so don't message me later and say, that's not what we call it, Ted. You can educate the audience later. But he's got a whole character called the Outlander who he's created, and it's amazing. But I see him at his table, which is the size of this table you guys can't see, and then it's shifted up, and I'm pretty sure he's got the
like
analog kind of, I think he's worked at Universal, I think he worked.
Okay.
And then he's also got this laptop-y kind of looking thing, or this drawing thing that looks more computerized. Mm-hmm. I think the combination is awesome, and I think that that's where it's going. You have to be able to keep up with the technology, I guess. A lot of artists in general, because they're purists and because they haven't adapted to it, sometimes get left behind in this world, especially with what you're doing.
Yeah, I watch Downton Abbey, and they're afraid of the phone. And when the phone's put on the table, or the toaster, oh my God, what's that going to do? But as an artist, it's liberating, because what's really cool about it is I love to share a movie created. As you create this thing, it takes you 2 hours to create the image. Maybe that's about how long I work to finish any one sketch, unless it's a rush and I can do something in 15 minutes. But I try and pace myself where I say, I'm going to be at this event for 2 hours and I'm going to get a sketch done. It's going to be a painting. It's finalized in some way that pleases me. And then you can just hit a button and it shows your entire process, recreated fast. Everything comes into place.
That's cool.
Like every stroke is recorded, and it just shows my thought process. And people are fascinated by that, and I'm fascinated by that. To see that you can see every thought that happened during the course of it, because you're making millions of decisions.
Correct.
Every line is a new decision, every shape, size,
You
color.
get to see the creative process too, which is really cool. I think that I'm not an artist, but I'm fascinated by art in general and the arts. Mm-hmm. And so I love that creative process. I love to watch somebody like you who is a creative, or whatever the verb or noun is. You're a creative, creator. I love that because you're a creator. You should totally hashtag that. A creator, because I think it's so important for people to understand that this stuff just doesn't automatically happen, and you can have this gift, and then you have to figure out how to let that gift manifest, which you've obviously done a great job of stroking it and growing it and planting the seeds and getting it all together. What do you want to do 2020 different than 2019? Are there projects on the horizon that, or events or things that you want to do?
The main thing is I'm promoting the arts. I want to continue doing that. And
which you do a fantastic job of.
It's just a unique way of seeing the arts through an art form. I mean, I don't know of any other artist who's doing this. So that's my mission, is to grow that and to expand on that and to get more people to see what's going on in town. That's always been my excitement, is to get people out. Come out and see what's happening. Don't sit at home, don't stare at that tube. Get out and actually experience life.
I mean, please try not to watch, which I'm forced to a lot, 90 Day Fiancé all the time. Or, I mean, there's so much that our city offers. We were talking about it right before we went live. Mm-hmm. There's an inclusivity and just an amazing amount of talent in Orlando that isn't just the mouse. There is so much that we have to offer. And I think that we do miss out, which is why I use the show platform all the time to get people to engage, to try to go, oh my God.
That was actually part of my initial mission statement. I wanted people to understand what is not Disney in town. What's exciting that isn't Disney? And there's so many actors, so many dancers who probably started at Disney, but now want to do something really creative and fun on their own. And there's excitement everywhere I go. I mean, in the beginning, I was panicking to try and find one thing a day to sketch. Now on my calendar there's 5 to 10 things a day I could sketch, and it's deciding which one it should be. It's a renaissance in town. It really is.
I feel like we do have a
grown
renaissance.
Fast.
And we're supportive of the arts, and I think that...
And the producers and directors in town are supportive. They love the fact the audience is there. In a bigger city it would be different. It's like you haven't paid your $50 ticket, so I'm not interested in your promotion. Here it's they love the fact that we share what they're doing.
And we do it in a way that we really do want to promote. The arts community, though, even though it is growing and it's becoming bigger, the arts community that usually we all support each other, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's the outside people that don't understand. We were talking about, Brian, if you're watching or watch later, we were talking about Midwinter Fringe is coming up, and what does that even mean, and how are we going to engage? And people are intimidated a little bit by the arts overall if you're not in that little circle of people who support the arts. So you see the same people going to the events and tagging the events and promoting the events. What we'd all like to do, Thor too, me, all of us, we want to expand that circle, and we want to get more people to get involved, to go to Fringe, which Thor's going to be at, to go to every wonderful thing that we have to offer. And it's not just DPAC. There are millions, it feels like, many thousands, many hundreds, I don't want to exaggerate. There's a lot of opportunity for you to get involved in the arts. And the arts isn't just drawing, there's music, there's acting, like you mentioned earlier, plays. There's so much here that isn't tied to a large theme park. And so we want you to get out, and we want you to experience that.
And in drawing just the rehearsals and people getting ready for productions, they're not always doing it in the theater, because the theater is, you have to pay the rent, and they're looking for places other than that to do their rehearsals and to dance and to perform. So I've seen every conceivable venue in town. I mean, at the Fringe, one of the performances was in the women's room. They had a play in the women's room, and that's fascinating to sketch in there.
Fascinating. Well, I told you I had the 2 brownies, or the 2 Girl Scouts on. That talk about mansplaining.
Oh yeah, that's coming up.
They came on, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I'm really glad. Because I would have never known about them. I would have looked at the picture, their photos, and said, why are there 2 older ladies, and they're not old, but older than Girl Scouts, dressing up, and one has some kind of ukulele looking thing. I'm fascinated, but I probably would not have done any kind of research on that, moved along. That's why we want to get...
Are they from Canada?
Yes.
I know who it is then.
Yeah, so, oh my God, they're hilarious. But that's what things like Fringe and Mini Fringe that's coming up, and all of the arts events that we have. Cole Neesmith's event in October is amazing. And it's just so much good stuff, so we want to get it out there. All right, so we're going to share... Oh, tell us a little bit why. So you're Thomas Thorspecken.
Right.
So you obviously, that's a long name. Is that why you
I always have to spell it?
Is that why you had to? Is that why you are professionally known, or try to be known as Thor?
Art alter ego.
Sure, art. And is there any difference
It's
between
Thor,
Thomas and
you
Thor?
don't have to learn how to spell it. People know the character from the movies now.
They do.
So
I love
it actually came about at Disney. I was in the men's room with several other guys lined up at the urinals, and somebody came in and said, "Hey, Tom." And we were all Tom, all lined up at the urinals. Oh, we can't all be Tom. So we sort of had a conference there that said, we need nicknames.
Awesome. Conference girls, you don't have the corner on that market of conferencing in the urinal in the bathroom. Dudes do it too.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to share all of Thor's contact information, how you can reach out to him, how you can engage and maybe invite him to your next event, how you can work with him, because he's obviously talented. I will post that picture again, and then he'll post and tag me in the picture that he's drawing from the club today. So 2020 is kind of a new year. We did mentorship last year, but we do want to focus on maybe asking you some questions, maybe 1 or 2, about what you're looking forward to in 2020. But we want you to look back a little bit. Can you give us the name of somebody, maybe somebody who has made the greatest impact on you? It can be professionally or personally. Somebody who has really, really impacted you and maybe helped you along in your business or your personal life?
Boy, it's an open question, but someone who really inspires me locally, who's a producer, director, is John DiDonna. He does Phantasmagoria.
Yeah.
The way he approaches promoting his work and getting me to be a part of that production and always promote that show, that's the energy that I hope to see everywhere in town. People that are energized and reaching out and doing amazing work and laughing about it, and getting other people to talk about politics and things that are interesting. I think he's amazing.
He is amazing. Phantasmagoria, if you have not seen it, is also amazing. My friend Jeremy Wood was just in the latest production of that, or an offshoot of that.
Christmas version.
Christmas version, which is, they're just such talented people. And then going into 2020, what are you thankful for? What are you bringing with you that you're grateful for from 2019?
2019 was a big year of change. This year I'm feeling a bit liberated, so
Like
a little
that
more
word.
freedom to explore and express myself. I think I've resisted certain venues and things, and I'm starting to want to be more daring in 2020. So
Take the leap, guys. Take
Yes.
a chance. One of my hashtags for 2020 is hashtag yes 2020. I want to say yes to more things. I don't want to inundate myself, bury myself, drown myself, but I want to get outside of my comfort zone. I want to do some things that are different. And I think that we all should try to do something a little different in 2020.
Definitely.
So thank you. You're a joy, absolutely amazing, talented friend. Thank you for being on the show, Thor.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys back here later on, and we're going to share all of his contact information. Reach out to him. All right. We love you guys.
Bye, guys.